all the encouragement given by all the doctors, even my senior doctors are there. If at all any flaws are there from my side, please forgive. So this is a very small attempt from my side to tackle the PCOD cases. And before we start with, let us have a great salutation to our Vijaykar sir, our guru, who has given us the courage and the enthusiasm to deal with cases with a single dose and then to have a complete cure upon the patient with a single dose. Although Dr. Hahnemann has given everything through his aphorisms, the single dose, minimum dose, etc., it was Vijaykar sir who has very properly given us scientifically and with the step-by-step cure, as well as through his theory of suppressions, how to elicit the Hering's law one by one. That too, with a single dose of medicine, we need not repeat in between. So, without our guru having taught us all these things, we would not be able to present all these things boldly here. Now, I'm not wasting any time. Let us go directly to the subject per se today, PCOD. Now, hearing the word PCOD itself, many doctors are having a lot of difficulties in their practice regarding the PCOD. Actually, this PCOD is a very simple disease which is made quite complicatedly. Rather, it is made complicated by so much of lab tests, hormonal issues, and PCOD is the one which leads to the infertility. So due to all these reasons, people are not, or the doctors are not very comfortable with to treat the PCOD cases in homeopathy. But there is one simple point regarding this PCOD. Here, we can always look into the SORA path. That means PCOD falls into the fifth layer. When it is in the fifth layer, we have got a plus point of SORA. That means, as Vijaykar sir rightly says, SORA is present from the first layer to the fifth layer. So, you are justified in giving the genetic constitutional simillimum or the GCS, that means the constitutional medicine. And that is quite easy since in my last session, when we dealt with the gynecological cases, when we talked about the various kinds of ophidias, we talked about the GCS and how to come to an ophidia or how to find out the different kinds of ophidia near you, inside your clinic or outside your clinic or on the road or in the next apartment, anywhere and everywhere, a TV program or a film, all the actresses and all that. So wherever you see, you will be finding one ophidia. You just have to find out by various photographs as well as the pics of the patient. I have made it familiarized with you. Whatever things which I had understood in my clinic, I have shared with you last time itself. From this method itself, you can find out whether it is an ophidia or not. So that much part is ruled out. The rest of the part only is there in front of the physician now. So with this PCOD also, the same thing can be done. Like whether how to take the GCS is as easy as that. First of all, you can rule out a big section can be ruled out whether the patient sitting in front of you is an ophidia or not. So whenever a patient is coming with any uterine complaint or a gynecological disorder or even with PCOD, sometimes the history will be like this. For 4 or 5 months together, there is no pain at all. And after the 5th month comes in a very heavy flow. So heavy flow means it is a menorrhagia. Menorrhagia is nothing but a hemorrhage. So when there is a hemorrhagic tendency, you can always think about an ophidia. So stop the patient and immediately ask one question. What is the question? Can you bear tightness? Tightness in any form. Tightness around your neck or around your hair or around your waist or around your chest or anywhere. Are you able to bear the tightness? Then immediately the ophidia will be revealed. The patient will tell you in different terms that, oh doctor, I just cannot tolerate any tightness around my neck. It will be suffocating. Or certain ophidias will tell you, if it is a centris or something, it will tell you that I cannot bear the tightness around my chest area. or if it is lactasis, or if it is crotalus and all, they will be complaining about the neck tightness. So, and if the patient is a very tubercular kind of constitution and creating a rapport so soon with the doctor, and where the doctor also feels very appealed with the patient, and doctor thinks that the patient is somebody who is very close to him, we can think about elapse. Once you know that this is a tight intolerant patient sitting in front of you, that it is an ophidia, you just have to rule out whether it is lactasis or crotalus, which are the hot patients, or the crotalus cascavella, where the dreams and the religiousness are marked, or is it the Sencris, the beautiful lady with this beautiful smile and all that, with the loose hair and all that, and the body line will be so very attractive and sensual. Or is it the sisterly affection kind of person, phosphorus kind of person, the tubercular elapse? So from this, you will be able to differentiate what kind of an ophidia it is. If it is not ophidia, then that one big section can be closed off, and then only the usual method has to be followed. That means whether it is a plant kingdom or animal kingdom or mineral or metal, and then you can go ahead what metal it is or what mineral it is according to your medical knowledge. So a PCOD patient can be very well be an ophidia case. So if it is an ophidia, then it is pretty easy for you. So this will give confidence to the young doctors, to the junior doctors, to approach PCOD. If you can understand the materia medica behind the ophidias, if you can rule out, or if you can understand what is the type of the ophidia that is sitting in front of you, you can tackle even PCOD. How? By just giving a single dose of the remedy. Either it is crotalus cascavella or elapse or Sencris or crotalus horridus or lactasis, or any of these ophidias can be given. You have to understand what is the ophidia sitting in front of you and just give a single dose of it, and the entire PCOD case will be tackled so beautifully. Only thing is that you just have to wait. You have to know when to repeat and when not to repeat, and when to go to the when to change the remedy if the remedy is not ophidia, or sometimes if it is a mistake from your side, and if the patient is not improving, then you can stop and retake the case and then give, just like any other case. If it is a wheezing case, what will you do? The same kind of method you can use in PCOD also. So coming to PCOD per se, we have certain like how to approach this PCOD. Actually, what is this PCOD and why does it appear and how can it be tackled and what are all the hormones that are involved? So we shall study about this PCOD a little more in depth. Actually, PCOD is a syndrome. So many symptoms are present in PCOD, not the one or two symptoms. So this syndrome is due to excessive secretion of androgens by ovaries. So doctors, here I just want to discuss about the clinical tips of the PCOD. I don't want to go into any of the theory part. You would all be thorough about the theories. You would have been heard enough about the theories. You would have read also. And now I don't want to repeat all those things again. I just want to highlight how to treat a PCOD successfully in your clinic. So a minimal amount of the whereabouts of PCOD only I am presenting here. I am not at all going into the details. I want to make it as simple as that. I don't want to make it complicated at all, because PCOD as such is not a complicated disease if you see it in this angle. So the androgens are more. So for a female, if the androgens are more, if the androgens secreted, ovaries will secrete both estrogen as well as the testosterone. So when it is going a little high, or when more amount of the androgens are secreted, then comes in the PCOD. Now we want to know, why does this androgen is secreted more? So this happens due to disturbance in the HPOA axis. That is, HPOA means everybody knows it is the hypothalamus pituitary ovario axis. So here the hypothalamus is the master of the master, pituitary gland is the master gland, and pituitary is controlled by the hypothalamus. I hope I am audible properly, or any voice disturbance or something is there. I'm sorry about that. No. Thank you. So this hypothalamus is actually the master of the emotions. So a lady is subject to any kind of emotions, all sorts of emotions, right from her puberty from the 10th standard, from the 12th standard, and from there onwards, she would, for her higher, to pursue her higher college days and all that, she would be going to some residential or to some hostels and staying there. From there starts the PCOD. Or with any change of place, there can be an emotional disturbance which can cause an irregularity in her periods, in her cycle. Or it can be after marriage as well. After marriage, the person will be going to a different home, and there can be a lot of emotional disturbance which can in turn cause a disruption in the regularity of the cycles. Until then, the patient would be complaining to us that everything was perfectly fine until my marriage, doctor. After the marriage, when I went to my husband's home, started the irregularity of the period. Till then, everything was fine. That would be the narration of the patient many times. Or once I was admitted into some hostel or something, I went away from my home for pursuing my higher studies. At that time, started my irregularity of the periods. That also will be one of the narrations. So all these things are the play of the hypothalamus, where a lot of emotional disturbance is there. So in order to treat the PCOD, we have to make the ovaries produce the proper amount of the estrogen. For that, we have to treat the emotional disturbance. So what are all the emotional disturbance felt by the patient? So to tackle this, you should know what emotions caused the testosterone surge. Why the testosterone is more is a question. The story may be anything. The girl would be the head of the family sometimes due to the father being irresponsible or due to death of father. Suddenly the father might be expired. Then the girl will be the eldest person in the family. She would be having small brothers or small sisters, and her mother who may be uneducated, or mother who is a very emotional lady who or a weak mentality mother. Then the girl would have to, she being the teenager girl, she will come up like, I have to take care of my family now because I have to support my poor mother now. My mother is a very weak lady, a poor lady. She will not be able to lead us for our studies or to take care of my younger brothers. So now it is on my shoulders. I have to do this. So when the girl is coming to the level of the head of the family, automatically she behaves like a father, or she takes up the responsibility like a father. She shoulders it bravely, and this can cause a testosterone surge because in the normal scenario, the lady will be in, especially in the Indian scenarios, the lady will not be going out onto the front, or the lady will be remaining inside the home. The lady will be remaining inside the home, and she will be at the nest, rather taking care of her nest or her family, of her children, of her husband, of her in-laws, etc. Nowadays, the girls are not like that. The girls have to really go into the front or go riding the bike or two-wheeler or whatever, four-wheeler, anything in par with the guys. Their girls have to behave nowadays. So this is also one reason why the PCOD, the percentage of PCOD is so high, that the testosterone, without the testosterone, girls will not be able to do the jobs done generally by the guys. So this could be one of the stories. Why the testosterone surge is there? The girl would be the head of the family, or the girl has to fight for the bread. The girl will be the bread earner, etc. Where the responsibility is too strong, responsibility too early, or responsibility too serious. So this responsibility can be one of the rubrics for us if we have to take up the rubrics, or if we are not able to identify what is the constitution sitting in front of us. If we have to take the rubrics, then responsibility too serious or too early and all can be one of the good rubrics. Or it can be various kinds of identity conflicts. See, actually, clinically PCOD can be classified into two sections. One section is like PCOD without any complications, and the other one is PCOD with complications. So PCOD with complications, in order to tackle such things, we definitely will need to go into the rubrics. Without going to the rubrics, we will not be able to collect the exact symptoms or to prescribe or to hit the target. So here, what are all the identity conflicts that you see in the PCOD? If the lady is having PCOD with complications, that means if there is hirsutism, when the testosterone surge is too high, that she even produces the hair upon the unwanted parts, like upon the upper lip, on her chin, or in the whiskers area, or even in the chest, or even in the whole body. So I shall show you cases today where the lady had
Madam, we cannot able to hear, madam.
Hello?
Now it is audible.
Okay, doctor. So, identity conflict rubrics, there are generally 3 of them. One identity conflict rubric is confusion of identity. We shall come into little detail about all these things, doctors, in order to be thorough about these rubrics, in order to take these rubrics clinically when the PCOD patient is right in front of us. So we have to take these confusion in errors, confusion of identity, or this identity conflict rubrics in cases of PCOD with complication. That means with hirsutism, with lot of hair all over the body, with the hair about the upper lip, on the unwanted parts of the body, in the face, in the whisker area, and all that. So what kind of confusion do you get here? Actually, what is this confusion of identity? Confusion of identity is nothing but the patient does not know who she is. Who am I? What am I? Why am I born here? What are my duties? Am I a daughter in the home? Or am I a mother in the home? Or am I a father in the home? Where is my father? I don't have a father. Or if at all I have a father, my father is not taking the responsibility of the home. Then what am I to do? My mother is always in distress. My small younger brothers and younger sisters are always in distress because of my father. Either the father is dead and gone, or the father would have been a quite an inebriate, or he would be taking the alcohol and coming back home in the night and then fighting with the mother, kicking the mother, etc. Then this girl will be in lot of confusion. See, what should I do? I am now 18-year-old or 19-year-old, so I can do something, but I am incapable of. I don't have the confidence to fight with the dad, fight with the father. I have to protect my mother, but how will I protect her? What am I? Who am I? This is the confusion of the identity. So I shall give you a story here. In Ramayana, when Ravana has actually kidnapped Sita and went to Lanka in his Pushpaka Vimanam, actually this Rama and all this Sugriva and all the other monkeys were trying to find out Sita. Then they understood that Ravana has taken Sita to Lanka. So how to go to Lanka? Okay, we have to sail across, or we have to go across the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean is a very big ocean. How can a monkey go ahead? How can a monkey go to Lanka? That is the question now. Then everyone were pointing towards Hanuman. Hanuman is not an ordinary monkey. Even Sugriva and all are not ordinary monkeys. They are all 6-footers. They are just like apes, even better than human beings they are, with good intelligence. And they were, in the story at least, they were having a big kingdom and they were ruling very nicely and all that. So Sugriva and all cannot be compared to ordinary monkeys. And even Hanuman is a much better monkey. Then everyone were pointing towards Hanuman. Hey Hanuman, come on, jump over. Hanuman is asking to jump. Where to jump? Jump into the ocean. What if I fall into the ocean? What if some crocodile or something, Surasa Devi or something is coming and swallowing me up? How can I jump? With one jump, will I be able to land at Lanka? What do you think of me? How can I do that? Who am I? I am only a monkey. So this was the confusion of identity felt by Hanuman at this crisis time. Then one of the oldest monkeys, he was the Jambavan. Jambavan called Hanuman and said, hey Hanuman, come here, come beta, come this side. what is happening? Are you having confusion? You are having confusion of identity. You don't know who you are. Come on, you are not Hanuman. You are Maruti. You are the son of wind god. You have the ability to fly. You can even jump with one leg. With one leg, you can even come up to Lanka. You are that great, you know. You have forgotten your identity, Hanuman. Come on, Maruti. You grow up. You try to put up your Veera Hanuman image. Where is your Veera Hanuman image? Grow up, Hanuman. You can do it. So this is the kind of confidence given by Jambavan, the age-old monkey, father of monkey, we should say. And Hanuman got his identity. Hanuman understood that, okay, I am not an ordinary monkey. I have to build up my confidence. I have to believe in myself. I know what I am. And comes up the Veera Hanuman. And with the mountain-like growth suddenly, and Hanuman just like grew like a very, 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 very big person or a Vanara. And he jumped across the Indian Ocean, and then the rest of the thing is story of Ramayana. Forget it. So this is the kind of a confusion a girl can get in. That means a girl under pressure. When we all have this confusion of identity when we are under pressure, like what to do, how to do, or that lack of confidence will be there. And in a school, if a child is always ridiculed by the teacher, one of the teachers, the mathematics teacher will come and ridicule the child. You stupid, you buffalo, you idiot, you nonsense. What are you writing here? You don't know the simple 1 and 1. When are you going to pass this exam? You will get 0 only. So all this blast the child is tolerating at the school, and at home, the mother will be hitting the child. Why is your homework incomplete? Why did you not write it properly? Look at your handwriting, lot of spelling mistakes. So mother also will be hitting the child at home. Even at the peer group, the other friends they will be able to catch and throw the ball and all nicely, and this child will be having the loss of confidence. So this can be considered as a confusion of identity. And here, one of the teachers, for example, in our film that Tare Zameen Par, that child was having lot of confusions. He was given left and right from his teacher, from his mother, from everywhere, from his father. And then Amir Khan was the correct teacher coming up there suddenly. And he took up the role of Jambavan. And he called this child aside, and then he sat with the child, and he found out what is wrong with this child. Actually, the child is not wrong at all. It is the mistake done by the others, by the superiors, by his friends, or by his mother, or by his parents, or by the teachers. Actually, the parents and the teachers have to help out this child. Instead of that, they have cut off his ego, or they have given him esteem problems. So the child does not have a self-confidence at all. And in this Tare Zameen Par, Amir Khan was bringing up the child like anything, and the colorfulness inside the child and the confidence of the child came up bloomingly outwards. So here, sometimes, mostly, a homeopathic doctor will be able to identify the child. When a child is constantly falling sick or something, you will be able to identify that this child is having some problem with his identity, or if the person is having a big growth or something, an early psychosis, or if the boy child is having lot of fat, like gynecomastia kind of thing, then you know that this child is suppressed by the parents. That is the reason why his sora has compromised into early psychosis, and the child is put on weight like calcarea carp, like too much of obesity, and his chest area will be like feminine kind of thing only. So here and all, the homeopathic doctor will be able to take the role of this Jambavan, or take the role of Amir Khan in that film. And this doctor can give a small counseling and find out what is really wrong in the emotions, in the hypothalamus, in the emotions of the patient. And you will be able to give him confidence, and you will be able to tell him what his real identity is, who you are, and what is your role, what all things you have to do, and what all things you have to just ignore. Just try to be who you are. Don't try to be another person. And so this is a general rubric, confusion of identity, which will be very helpful in tackling the hirsutism cases of PCOD. Now, errors in identity, or Vijay sir has constantly been talking about errors in identity, where the person believes, the person knows who he is, but it is a mistake. The person does not have any confusion like who he is. He knows what he is, but it is a mistake. He thinks that I am Doraemon, or he thinks that I am Shinshan or something. The child will be constantly in this world only of the cartoon section of the TV, constantly watching Doraemon, Shinshan, etc. And the child thinks and acts like Doraemon. And finally, when someone is asking, "Hi, baby, what is your name?" It's, "I am Doraemon, auntie." Like that, the child will be saying. So this is the error in identity. So in adult, in PCOD cases and all that, we can understand that the child, the girl thinks that she is the mother or she is the father. So if any pituitary adenoma or something like that is there, the person, this girl in Percy, this girl would have thought that she is the mother of the family, or she is the caretaker of the family, or she is the guardian of the family. So everything is on her head or shoulders. So she has to shoulder the entire family. So what? She cannot be a girl. So she is the head of the family. That is her error in the identity. She thinks or she believes that she is taking the father's role, so she is the father. So she starts thinking like a father. She starts behaving like a father, and her pituitary gland also grows up because of her false perception that she is a father or she is a mother or she is somebody. Whichever is needed in the situation, the girl takes up the responsibility and she goes one step ahead. She actually enacts that role. It is not simply stepping into one's shoes and all that. She actually wears that shoes and she behaves in that role very nicely, properly. And it is not supposed to be so. She has to be herself. She cannot be another person. In this world, there is no dualism at all. And in cannabis kind of persons, the person will be thinking that he is God or he is a messenger of the God. So that is also an error of identity. And coming to the third important rubric regarding the identity conflicts, that is the confusion of sexual identity. This sexual identity that is very helpful in gynecomastia cases, or where the person mannish habits are there for a girl, when the girl is thinking like a boy and the girl wants to dress up like a boy with jeans or with such kind of things. No, when the person is coming inside, when the girl is coming inside, we will be thinking that she is a boy. Even the doctor will get confused. So this is confusion of sexual identity. The girl thinks that she is a boy and she likes all the boyish ideas and she thinks and behaves like a boy. And this can happen vice versa also. A boy can think like a girl. He can behave like a girl. He will be standing behind the mother. He does not want to be exposed. All sorts of, and this can be included in the rubric of confusion of sexual identity. All these things can cause an irregularity in our normal hormones, which can produce the PCOD or whatever kind of hormonal errors. Now, in PCOD, what are all the hormones which we have to know? So these 5 hormones are most important. One is the AMH, then the LH, FSH, estradiol and testosterone. Now, first of all, coming to this AMH, that is actually the anti-Mullerian hormone. This is nothing but secreted by the granulosa cells of the ovaries. So when a baby girl is born in this world, at that time she will be having primitive organs, primitive ovary, primitive uterus and all that. She is a female, but then the female functions are not yet happened. So the primordial follicles will be there, or the ovarian reserve will be there. In order to identify whether it is a male child or a female child, you can in fact have an anti-Mullerian hormone test and find out. So it is an indication of ovarian reserve. How many primordial follicles are there in a, is it enough or is it very less? That is the question. For this purpose only, we try to look into AMH. So AMH is actually an indication of whether this female is having enough ovum, enough eggs how is her fertility? After giving the treatment, what is the scope of her getting pregnant or getting the issues? How much is her primordial follicle, or what is her ovarian reserve, whether this lady will get a baby or not. If the ovarian reserve itself is not there, that means if the AMH is very, very low, then it is a real task from the side of the homeopathic physician in order to first of all produce even the germ cells. No, even the primordial follicles are not there, means it is really a tough job. But that is also tackled in homeopathy, because hypogonadism can be tackled in homeopathy, although difficult. Even the first menses would not have appeared for the girl, even if she has crossed the age 18 years. And if sometimes the first menses itself will be brought about by taking Meprate kind of hormonal tablets, allopathic hormonal tablets. Whereas when this girl undergoes a ultrasonogram of the pelvis, the size of the ovaries are much, much lesser, or the size of the uterus is also much, much lesser, and the AMH will be much, much lesser, which only shows that there is a hypogonadism. Now you have to undergo, like you have to understand why this hypogonadism is there. Whether it is because of some pituitary hypofunction of the pituitary, then it goes in that angle. Let us not discuss that now. We just want to simplify the PCOD. So AMH, we are interested with the AMH regarding the PCOD, like how many number of eggs are there, or enough number of eggs are there or not. Now let us come into the optimal value of the AMH. So AMH is an indication of the fertility of the woman. If the value is somewhere between 2.5 to 6 nanograms per ml of blood, you know that this lady is of optimal fertility. If it is very low, that means if it is less than 1, like 0.5 or sometimes 0, 0.1 or 0.01, it shows very low fertility or very poor ovarian reserve. So here the doctor will have to work in another angle, in a much more deeper angle. So if the AMH is very low, our GCS will not be enough doctors. Here we will have to look into the delusional level, and it is a much, much deeper level. So that is why this is very important here. And if the AMH is high, if it is more than 10, then it indicates PCOD. That means more and more follicles are produced here. As we said earlier, AMH is produced by the granulosa cells of the ovaries. So if more eggs are developed, that is what is happening in PCOD now. More eggs will be produced. Generally, in 1 month, either the left ovary or the right ovary will produce one egg, one follicle, one Graafian follicle. And when that Graafian follicle is lysed up, automatically the egg will be ejected out, and that is called ovulation. Here in PCOD, 4 or 5 eggs will be at a time produced from the left side ovary and 4 or 5 from the right side ovary. So total many polycysts, many ovaries, many egg, many ova will be produced inside each ovaries, inside the left and the right ovaries. So here the AMH will be high, it will be more than 10. So it shows that more follicles are produced. So more high AMH indicates, it is an indication of PCOD as well. Low AMH also helps to understand whether the lady has attained menopause. So if it is a lady who has crossed 40 years, and if she is having lot of menstrual irregularities, like the periods is not at all coming, the cycles are very, very irregular, once in 3 months, once in 4 months it is coming, doctor, and it remains only for 3 days or 2 days or only for 1.5 days, and then it stops, and that too it is very scanty, you will have sometimes, and the patient will ask, is it menopause, doctor? Am I reaching menopause? Now how to help the lady? AMH is one of the indications. When you do the AMH, it will be very low. Then you can see that the ovarian reserve is not there, or maybe the primordial follicles are all used up and finished. That is over. So that means the ovaries are not functioning. It is not a disease. It is a condition where there are no more eggs inside the ovary. And this lady has completed her family and all that, and she has already crossed 40 plus. And then you can help the lady understand that, okay, this is going, you are going towards menopause. So from here onwards, there will be no ovulation for you, because the ovaries are already dried up. There is no egg inside the ovary because the AMH is very low. So that shows that. And now whatever flow you are getting once in 3 months or 4 months is only a hormonal flow. So that will be very scanty only. It is all totally an ovulatory cycle. So in the near future, there will be a full stop for even for the hormonal cycles. That means you will be attaining complete menopause. So you will be able to give an opinion to the lady looking into AMH. Now coming to FSH, FSH is secreted by the anterior pituitary on the order of GnRH. So it is a gonadotropin releasing hormone which is secreted from the hypothalamus, and hypothalamus will in turn order the anterior pituitary to produce FSH, follicular stimulating hormone. So it helps in the maturation of the ovarian follicles. The ideal value of FSH will be less than 10. I know, doctor, all these things will be a little bit boring, but then these are very practical for you to know where your patient is and how much you have to work to produce a result. If the patient is coming, if it is a married lady coming with PCOD, then immediately she will want to conceive. So with all these values, you will be able to tell it on the face, like this is it. So this much we have to wait, and the value of the FSH should reduce. It is now very high. This shows that you are having PCOD, etc., etc. Like you will be able to talk authoritatively to the patient, and you will get an idea how much you have to wait or what kind of medicine you have to select, etc. Again, if the FSH is too high, like if it is 20, 40, 60 and all, it shows ovarian failure or menopause. So in ovarian failure, why does the FSH go too high? Because the pituitary gland, so there are primordial follicles inside the ovary, but then somehow the ovary is not able to eject out, or maybe with PCOD, or the patient is not able to eject out the egg. Then the pituitary gland will be producing more and more FSH. Come on, stimulate the ovary. FSH is follicular stimulating hormone. So FSH will come through the blood and it will be affecting the ovaries. It will be stimulating the ovaries again and again to produce the egg, produce the egg, produce the egg. But then the egg is not produced because it is an ovarian failure, or if the patient has attained menopause, then there is no ovulation happening. So here what happens? The FSH will be too high, but this FSH does not have any action on the ovaries. So it shows that either it is a menopause case or it is complete ovarian failure. Of course, I said in complete ovarian failure also in homeopathy we have got medicines, but in a different angle we will have to go more deeper into to tackle such cases. Next is the LH. This one is also secreted by the anterior pituitary. It helps in dissolving the cover of the follicle. That is nothing but ovulation, doctors. You all know about it. Actually, it helps in the formation of corpus luteum, and that is the reason why we got the terminology LH, luteinizing hormone, because it helps in the production of corpus luteum. Corpus luteum secretes progesterone. So now what is this corpus luteum? After the ovulation, the remaining part, the capsule, or maybe the Graafian follicle contains the egg in that. Once the egg is released, the remaining part of the Graafian follicle will form a corpus luteum of menstruation. So it will be producing progesterone in order to keep the baby or in order to keep the egg. Of course, the egg, if it is fertilized, until the placenta comes over, this corpus luteum of menstruation will take care of the baby, of the zygote, of the early embryo. Once 3 months or 2.5 months are over, the placenta will be forming nicely and placenta will start producing the progesterone, and that will prevent the abortion. It will take care of the baby. Until then, it is corpus luteum of menstruation that is taking care of the baby. So that is the importance of luteinizing hormone. Coming to estradiol, the value ranges from 15 to 350 in various stages of the cycle. Anyway, too low estrogen is an indication of hypogonadism. Of course, in hypogonadism also, we have lot of scope in homeopathy. As Vijay sir rightly says, sky is the limit of homeopathy. So, too high estrogen level happens in PCOD, which will inhibit the FSH, thus stopping the maturation of ovarian follicles. This is nothing but a feedback mechanism. When there is a high level of estrogen, that means in order to facilitate or in order to produce the feminine character, sometimes there will be high estrogen level. In PCOD, that happens. With the high estrogen level, in turn, in the backward mechanism or in the feedback mechanism, FSH will be inhibited. Then what happens? There will be total ovarian, there will be total anovulation. Even the ovulation will not happen at all when there is hyperestrogen level. It is only a feedback mechanism, doctors. And now coming to one more practical part, what is the best time to test all these hormones? Day 3 morning is the best time for blood test. It is a blood test. Of course, it is an endocrine secretion. It will be dissolved. All the hormones are dissolved in the blood only. Day 3 means it is the third day of the cycle, of the menstrual cycle. Morning is the best time. And the best days to do the follicular study, that is the USG, is day 9, 11, 13, 15 until rupture of the follicle. So when you are ordering for, in the fertility, infertility cases, you will have to order for tests. Then you will have to advise this also to the patient while you are writing the FSH, LH, prolactin, estrogen hormones and all. Ask them to do on the third day of the menstrual cycle in the morning blood sample. That means in the fasting level itself, you can do and they can go and do the test. And for the follicular study, the best days are day 9 onwards until rupture every alternating day. So these are some practical tips. Now we shall discuss totally 4 cases today. There are of course many failure cases also, but here I want to project some success cases of PCOD. 2 cases are PCOD without any complication and 2 cases are PCOD with complication. With in all these things, a single dose of the medicine is able to effect the complete cure. So this girl was a friend of ours. A friend of ours means, okay, a friend of ours. She was having this irregularity in the menstruation. She is a case of PCOD with hirsutism all over. All over means upon both her hands, both her legs, her thighs, her abdomen, her chest area, her whiskers. My God, her whiskers are all so thick, you know, just like a man's face, her face will be. A little upon the mustache area and upon the beard area, the whiskers are very, very prominent. Without shaving, she will not be able to go outside and work and all that. From the first impression, she seems to be a very good girl, very responsible girl. Why I have written responsible is that her father is an irresponsible person. He is a typical old story father, like he will not take a Tamil family. He will be over dominating the family. He will be always crucifying his mother for the slightest errors and always making the home a hell, you know, always shouting, always criticizing. So this girl was actually the pillar of the family. This girl is a very cheerful girl. Although there is sadness inside, she will take care of her younger sister. She will take care of her mother properly. And she will do all the things which are necessary for the home. So actually she is the pillar of the home. So I have taken the rubric responsible. She had a choice just to be like any other girls, you know, not taking the responsibility or just like that sitting and watching the TV. She is also a teenager, no. So she can also simply sit or let the mother take the responsibility or let the father himself realize his mistakes and let him take the responsibility. Why should I take the responsibility? But here, she never thought that way. She is a good girl, a very diligent girl, a very conscientious girl, and she, without any complaint, without any grudge towards her father, she happily took up the responsibility. And nobody has hammered this responsibility on her head. But she herself understood, realized the situation, the sad situation of her home, and she wanted to bring out her mother and her sad sister, younger sister, out of this gloominess, and she will always make them smile and make them happy, you know. So she is a very soft-spoken girl, a very smiling and graceful face she has. And of course, there is a history of prolonged domination from the father. So now the glimpse of the medicine, no, just by understanding the materia medica, you all will be able to understand the remedy, no. Now, few more tips are there. The father was very irresponsible. This girl was the pillar of the family, and she has a pet dog also. That means she used to vent out her sad emotions, or she used to share with the pet dog. So now the remedy is pretty clear, no? So the remedy in your mind is carcinosin. Of course, even I gave carcinosin 200 single dose. But then there is a story behind the story. I asked her about any affairs or something, and she immediately said that, yes, Dr. Auntie, I am having an affair. Since my high school classes, I had this affair. He's from my class only. He's my classmate, and he is a good guy and all that, and we are planning to get married. And I have my parents already know about this, and they are not against this. Even my mother is giving me full support, and I want to get married pretty soon. Then I asked, isn't this a problem for you? How are you going to see all this bad? Any girl will not want to be like that, no? Like full of hair all over the body. Then she said, yes, doctor, but my fiancé knows about this. He understands that I am having a hormonal issue. So all these problems are there. I just want my periods to be regular, auntie. I don't mind about all these things because anyway, my marriage is fixed and all that. So I don't have a problem in finding an alliance. So that was very good for her. Even I blessed her from the mind. Okay, at least you are a good girl. You are a very good soul. So at least you have got an understanding guy. He is not pinpointing you about your looks and all that. He has already seen your heart. So you have got a lovely would-be husband, you know. So I happily gave her carcinosin 200. She justifying carcinosin in every way. Very matured girl for her age, and very soft spoken, happily talking, and no the other what to say attitudes of other girls of this age. No, like they will be having a very outward or libertinism kind of behavior will be there for other girls of this age. Nothing of that sort. Very orthodox, very calm, that kind of a very, what to say, very good girl, you know. So carcinosinum was very apt for her. I'm sure any doctor from this group would have given her carcinosinum only. 200 single dose was given, and after that she went to her husband's place, that is at abroad, no, somewhere in the US or somewhere. What happened, you know, after that she got conceived there and she got a normal delivery. She started getting the periods regularly. After carcinosinum, what happened? Her testosterone level started reducing. I never tested for all these blood values. The result spoke for all these things. What is the result? She started getting regular periods. I am happy. She was also happy, and she got conceived also, and she has got 2 kids now. This is it. This is her happy family. These 2 kids are naturally born, naturally conceived, and full-term normal delivery without any C-section, nothing. And both these kids are very normal kids, not autistic children or anything. So what have I prescribed, doctors, here? A single dose of carcinosinum 200 only. Look at her face and hands and all now. Gradually all these things are not there. Her hands are also beautiful now. Her face is also so beautiful. All these things are not there now. Slowly. I did not get a result for the hirsutism immediately, doctors. It took 1 year or 2 years. I don't know how many years. But now, that means after 4 or 5 years, gradually the testosterone has waned off. This is shown by the 2 beautiful kids, you know, how naturally she has conceived without any problem. Even now she will tell me, her mother will tell me, her father passed away. Her mother and sister will tell me, doctor, these 2 are your kids. With God's grace, with this PCOD, with this terrible kind of PCOD, I would have ended up in IUI or with whatnot, no, like IVF, and had lot of tortures. All those things were not there. I didn't even think about conception. I got these 2 kids, doctors. We are very grateful. So that is how the behavior of carcinosinum is, no, like they will be very grateful and very good natured people. So this was as good as that, doctor. What you have understood from this case? A normal materia medica kind of I have taken. Of course, I have only confirmed one rubric, that was responsibility too early. Of course, carcinosinum is there, and before we go into that rubric, we know from the look of the girl and from the behavior of the girl, we know that this girl is a carcinosinum girl. Now, after giving carcinosinum, what happened? All the unwanted things got disappeared and all the wanted things started coming up. That means all the male-like symptoms, the hirsutism, all the and the testosterone started waning off, and her own estrogen and FSH are all projected up, and her follicles are all ovulation happened properly, and she got 2 kids. So this is the end of this story. Now we are coming to the other case. Again, PCOD with complication, that is PCOD with a dermoid cyst. Of course, dermoid cyst is a syphilitic kind of cyst. It is a very common complaint again, usually attacking small girls, teenage girls, and sometimes they will end up by removal of the ovary itself for that. Very sad. In homeopathy, with a single dose of the correct medicine, you will be able to cure the dermoid cyst. And whether the dermoid cyst is there or not, it is a teratoma, of course, it will remain there dormant, and the rest of the ovary, the healthy part of the ovary, will produce ovulation, will produce the egg, and this ovulation can be understood by the follicular study. If the dermoid cyst is on the right side, with the follicular study, we can understand that the rest of the ovary is producing an egg, and that egg is released also, which means the dermoid cyst is kept at bay. Body is not worried about the cyst. Whatever is there, the cyst is encapsulated. It will remain there in one corner. It will not grow. It will not produce any harmful effects. Only the rest of the ovary will start functioning just like a normal ovary. Here, this girl, again an unmarried girl, her name is Sharanya actually. What happened? Her menses is like once in 5 months since menarche. She got a menarche at her normal age by around when she was in 8th standard, she got it. But then it was a normal 4 days flow. The periods will come only once in 5 months, just like a guest lecture it used to come. So what happened? She took Regestrone. Her mother would have taken her to some gynec, and then she was taking Regestrone very often in order to induce the periods. So every other month she would have taken Regestrone tablet. Of course, this Regestrone tablet would have produced all these side effects, and recently she started getting dysmenorrhea and menorrhagia. Then she went and did the scan and found out that she is having a dermoid cyst. Of course, dermoid cyst is a bigger one, only 3.5 centimeters it is. That means it is the size of an ovary and it is on the right side. Now, how to treat this? Okay, it can be because of the lot of amount of Regestrone tablets that she has swallowed. That is one reason. But as per that is not enough for a homeopathic physician. So we will ask why right side, okay, why dermoid cyst, why what happened, why an ovarian cyst. First of all, dermoid cyst is an ovarian cyst. Why did it happen? Then came the story. She wanted to marry a guy. Of course, it was a love marriage kind of thing. She was in love with someone. Her mother and brother are dead against this. Now you know in predictive homeopathy, mother and brother means it is the left-sided thing and father is the right-sided thing. And this girl is a right-handed person. Father is supporting her. So then there will be daily fight in the family. Sorry, doctor, there is a spelling mistake there. It is not daily flight. It is daily fight in the family. The fight is with the mother and the brother. So actually it should have been, according to the theory, it should have been the left-sided cyst, but then here it is the right-sided cyst. I asked her why it is so. Then she said, actually father is everything for me. That means father is like her mother. So that is the reason mother and brother are not real mother and brother. They are like a third person for her because there is no enough love or understanding between the mother and the brother. So that is the reason why she got an angry cyst or an abnormal cyst in the right side. It is not a normal ovarian cyst. It is a very a teratoma kind of cyst on the right side. So now coming into the rubric. So here we have to take what is this dermoid cyst? It is a syphilitic kind of cyst. What do you mean by syphilitic cyst? It is an abnormal cyst. Anything which is abnormal can be syphilitic. It is syphilitic. So here we have to take the highest syphilitic symptom in her entire case. So she had suicidal tendency. Of course, she wanted to marry this guy, and there is everyday fight in the family. So she wanted to, she is actually a good girl. She doesn't want to run away. She wants to get the permission from her mother and brother also. Then only she wants to get married, etc., etc. So finally, there is no other go than to commit suicide. Oh my God, I just don't want this life. Let me commit suicide, kind of a thing. So it was not a psychosis kind of suicidal tendency. Actually, she had tried to commit suicide. So that much was the indifference to life, And how was her face? It is a rather expressionless face. How did we talk about the Ophelia? Full of expression, full of loud, talkative, energy, full of enthusiasm and vivaciousness will be there for the Ophelia. So from the look of the patient itself, we know that this is not an Ophelia, rather a very sad face. So I took the entire case history, and in the past history I got that she was a gold medalist and her name itself, her nickname was Centum Saranya. Wherever she goes, she will be getting the 100%. That is why her name is Centum Saranya. So she was always on the stage and the cultural secretary, etc., etc., a very active girl. So actually this gives us the picture of an Ignatia. So Ignatia I thought of, but then Ignatia will not be sufficient here because Ignatia was in her younger days. What is the chronic of Ignatia? Now coming to the rubrics, I worked upon the suicidal disposition and the pathological rubric. Pathological rubric is nothing but female tumor ovaries cyst. A very normal rubrics I have taken. Many remedies are coming up, but we know how to rule in and rule out the remedies. What are you looking for? We are looking for an expressionless, indifferent remedy. The best remedy was sepia. Why? Because Ignatia, in her younger days, when she was satisfied with her every need, when she was fine, she was an Ignatia in her childhood.
Okay.
Hello? She was an Ignatia in her childhood. That means she was the Centum Charanya, she was the gold medalist, and she always wanted to keep the position, and she always wanted to be the number one. So that was the typical picture of Ignatia. Ignatia, the chronic is Natramur, and then the further chronic is sepia. Ignatia, Natramur, and sepia are in relation complementary remedies. So she is a chilly patient and she has got this expressionless indifference on her face. So there is our choice. So our choice is sepia. So I had given her sepia 200 single dose. Then what happened? What is the follow-up? She started getting regular menses. Friends, she was getting periods only once in 5 months without the help of allopathic tablet. If she was not taking any hormonal tablets, OCP tablets, she was getting the periods once in 5 months only. Now her menses is regular after taking sepia 200. She got the periods on September 23rd, then October 28th, November she did not get, and December in the first itself she got. So that means more or less in 30-31 days she was getting her periods, which is sufficient. What happened? One more thing happened after the right simillimum. Her marriage got fixed. So it was actually the dilemma. The happy child, the Ignatia happy child Sharanya was getting this dermoid cyst and everything because of this problem going on inside her family. What was the problem? Her marriage was not getting fixed and there was a huge fight in her family. Now, after giving the sepia, even the marriage got fixed for some date. What happened? We did the USG ultrasonogram and the size of the dermoid cyst was reduced and there was PCOD only on left side. So this is actually a very encouraging sign, a very encouraging signal. But then we are not interested in the scan reports and all. As long as her periods are normal, we are happy. If the periods are coming regularly, we know that it is an ovulatory cycle. In homeopathy, we cannot produce an anovulatory cycle. Only with the allopathy, they will be producing an ovulatory cycle. In homeopathy, if the female system has to work, it should be after ovulation only. So, what happened? She got a Hering's law. What was the Hering's law? She had a viral throat. She was unable to swallow. There was total suppuration inside her throat. So she was not able to swallow, but I did not give any medicine. I understood that this is only an exanthemata kind of thing, an elimination, a toxins or whatever are there, unwanted things are thrown away from the body. So it was considered as a Hering's law, and I kept mum. I did not do anything. I did not give her any medicine. The throat infection came down by itself, and she was happily married. And her husband flew to Sydney. She also joined him in the month of May, and the UPT became positive in the month of July. So in hardly 1.5 months, she got conceived also, and she delivered in April. So I don't have the photograph of her, doctors, but these are the compiled mails which she had sent to me. So she was, after reaching Australia, she had sent a mail to me that I'm glad to inform you that I am pregnant for 7 weeks and 4 days and all that. And she used to send me all the scan reports from there out of a goodwill. And she delivered a normal baby, and the dermoid cyst is also gone. So whether the dermoid cyst is there or not, we are not worried about that as long as the periods is normal and as the lady got conceived normally, she delivered normally. What more is needed? So that is hip urate to Sepia 200 single dose. Now 2 more cases I shall show, and then I shall stop, and we shall have a question answer session or anything whatever you have. So this is the third case, a normal, very normal PCOD without any complication. What do you mean by very normal PCOD? There is only PCOD. There is no PCOS. That means there are no hair growth upon the body. A very normal lady. There is no upper lip kind of thing. Nothing is there. She is a married lady. She is having PCOD complaints since 15 long years. And what is her menstrual history? Every time she gets menorrhagia, very heavy bleeding, 18 days flow. 18 days flow, continuously the flow will be there. So since 6 months this is going on. Again and again she will get the periods and it will be heavy. Plus what are all the other symptoms? Hypermelanosis. That means in the back of the neck or on the face, on the hands, on the knuckles, so at many places she is having black patches, hyperpigmentation patches are there. She is a hot patient and she is taciturn. That means she is not at all loquacious. She will keep quiet. Her husband will talk and I will have to ask questions, and husband will only give the answer. She will just like that sit, and she was producing a negative energy, you know. When I'm asking the questions to her, she will just say yes or no answers only. I only will have to do all the talking. And she had certain dreams of close relatives as dead. They are alive. They are living relatives, but then in the dream she will see them as dead. So this is a kind of an ophidia symptom, this dreams of dead people and all. Of course, we can think about ophidia when you see the hypermelanosis. I made the husband also do the test to find out what it is, and his seminal analysis showed 50 million sperm count with 25% motility. So is this enough, doctors? Of course, this is more than enough. We know that out of the millions of 1 million, if 1 million is there also, that is fine. With 25% motility or with 5% motility, actually it becomes possible, doctors. Only a single sperm is enough to fertilize the ovum. What happened here? I had given her Crotalus horridus 200. Now, why did I give Crotalus? So this lady was giving me a negative energy. She is a hot patient. She is an ophidia. How did I know whether she is ophidia or not? I asked her this well-known question, whether you can tolerate any tightness around the neck. She said, no, doctor, it will cause suffocation. So I confirmed that it is an ophidia. And what? She is a taciturn. That means she is not at all loquacious, simply sitting and creating the negative energy also. Of course, she did not attack me, but then she was asking questions like, how long will I have to take the medicine? How long I have been waiting, etc., etc. So what happened? Crotalus horridus 200 single dose was given in the month of April, and she started getting periods. How sometimes it was heavy, sometimes it was scanty. So actually, this is not the typical improvement what we expect. So I wanted to change the remedy in between, but there was some OSR, old symptom returning. So she was having wheezing complaint in her childhood days. After taking this Crotalus, she was having suddenly a minor amount of wheezing. So then I asked about the wheezing and she said, I had this complaint previously in my childhood days. So this is an old symptom reappearing. That means the medicine is working somewhere. The medicine wanted some time in order to effect the proper cycles. So I have to wait. So I waited. In the month of December, there was one more episode of terrible menorrhagia. The lady was exhausted. She could not bear it any longer. She is at Madurai. She is not staying at Chennai. So I was actually sending the medicines, that is SL only, sending through courier to Madurai. So I thought that why not repeat Crotalus once more, because I had a reason to repeat. All these months she was having old symptom returning, a little bit of hearing sore here and there, etc. The lower level diseases were coming up, and her menses was not. Sometimes it is heavy, sometimes it is scanty. Okay, but then now suddenly there was a pour, there was a gush of menorrhagia. So this has to be addressed. So I repeated Crotalus once more. Before I change the remedy, of course, first of all, if you have reasons, you can repeat the same remedy once more or go higher. I repeated the same potency. What happened? I had repeated that in December. She got her UPT positive in February. Then what happened? She delivered a baby in October month. Now we shall see the baby. So this is the father and the son. So I shall show the mother also here. This child, another big child is standing now. That is one of the relatives, her akka, her sister's son. This is actually our baby born out of Crotalus horridus. Now we shall study this lady. This lady has sent me this photo. Happy New Year 2020. So look at this lady. Here again we can see the black pigmentations around the eyes, upon the forehead. Here no, under the nose and here around in the corner of the mouth, and here in the corner in the underside of the neck. We can see the pigmentation. So with this a heart patient and Ophidia lady, I had given her Crotalus horridus 200, and this is the result what we have got. Her PCOD is completely gone and she got a baby also. Now we shall deal with the case 4, that is PCOD without complication. It is again a simple PCOD. Here, this is a very short case, doctors. After that, we shall stop, and if you have any doubts or any questions, all those things are welcome. So this is also a married lady. She has also gone for infertility treatment, and the problem was PCOD again. She used to get periods 2 times in a year. 2 times in a year means how? Non-stop spotting for months together. For 3 months, for 4 months, she will be spotting daily. One spot, one drop of the blood will be there. There is no normal periods at all. Once in a while, like a blue moon, she used to get a normal periods. So what happened? Here again the SORA is there. So just give the GCS. No other complications are there. There is no hirsutism. That means much hormonal problems are not there. So don't bother. Just use your knowledge of the materia medica and give the constitutional medicine. So by seeing the patient according to our standards, we know how to rule in and rule out Ophidia by now. So I had given her one remedy that was Sencris. Now what are all the indications to give Sencris? In the last session we have talked about that. Of course, the black marks can be there, the hyperpigmentation, and the patient will be hot or chilly. Of course, Crotalus horridus is hot and Sencris is a chilly patient, and the patient will be having a very this look and all that. No, like the patient will be obese and fat, and even though she is covering herself with dupatta or with shrug and all that, everything will be visible only. So after giving Sencris 200, she got 2 to 3 normal periods, and immediately her UPT became positive, urine pregnancy test positive. So within 2 to 3, see, you give the remedy, the correct remedy, and our this is very fast. It is a rapid kind of result what we are getting. Myself with the Sencris patient. So this is our Sencris lady. And look at the Sencris lady. You are able to see how she has covered herself up, but still she is visible everywhere, you know. You are understanding what I am telling, no? And this is the baby, a normal delivered girl baby. And now, yes, this is the end of the story. Thank you a lot. Thank you all for the patient listening. And if at all you have any doubt or any flaws are there, please forgive me. Any doubt, most welcome. You can ask any doubt or whatever not understood properly or anything now. Hi, doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. It is only 4:15. So if any, any.
Questions you can ask. You can take it in the chat box. You can unmute yourself and ask.
Madam, any young, yes.
15, okay, 15 years age, okay.
And the girl will not be obese also.
The girl is not obese, okay.
Obese. And her cycles are irregular. How to approach these
Cycles
cases?
are irregular. Fine, doctor.
How to approach these cases, ma'am?
So how can we approach? Is that the question?
Yes, ma'am. Because many times you ask any tension, stress and all, 90% of the patient will come with exam tension. No other tension means no other symptoms we get it.
Okay. Such things will be the normal PCOD complaints where the periods is just irregular. You can simply do the normal case taking and give. Of course, I have given you the tips of the Ophidias. If it is a girl of 15 to 16 years, generally what I have come up in my clinic is you can rule out elapse very safely. And don't simply jump into elapse. Don't give elapse blindly. You first of all confirm. That means if it is a phosphorus kind of a very friendly, very tubercular constitution, lean, thin, emaciated, and happily talking to the doctor, smiling face and all that, you can ask about of course, the general characters of Ophidia first of all, whether the tightness can be born or what, and the desire for juices and all you can ask. And the elapsed patient will come up immediately saying that I like all the juices, lemon juice, the buttermilk, everything I like a lot, and I like rains, etc. The patients will come up themselves. If it is justified, you can give elapsed 200 single dose, doctor. And from that time onwards, you will be able to see the periods or the cycles are getting corrected immediately. You just have to wait and see.
And one more doubt, ma'am. In few cases, the cycles will become regular again. Means annual cycle will be going on.
Yes,
so
correct.
If cycles are regular, can we take it as a symptom that we are in the right direction? But in scanning, it will be showing that the patient has PCOD.
Correct, doctor. In the scan, immediately the PCOD will not go, or the PCOD will not get disappeared. That is the reason why I don't depend upon the scan reports, doctor. We depend only upon the result of the patient. The history of the patient, if it is a very, very irregular periods, and after giving the correct medicine, if the patient is getting regular cycles, decently regular cycles, that means initially once in 45 days, then once in 35 days, then once in 30 days. If you observe a 6 months note of the cycles of this particular patient, you will be able to notice that finally this patient will be menstruating every 28 days. So this means that somewhere the ovulation is happening. In homeopathy, generally after giving the indicated remedy, we have only ovulatory cycles. The anovulatory cycles, of course, by doing the scan, when you do the scan, even if the patient is, just don't blindly believe the scan. Once the PCOD patient is coming to you with the scan report, and if the patient is still having irregular periods, when you send the patient for scan, the PCOD will be just like that itself. If the patient is regularly menstruating, what does that mean? That means ovulation is happening properly. So in that case, if you want to keep it academically and all that, no, okay, the PCOD is gone. Generally, we never get such kind of a report. But rarely, like after conception and after delivery and all, you can get, by that time the cyst, the existing small cyst would have completely gone. Or sometimes if the patient is in the improvement stage, the follicles or the small bead kind of thing are arranged peripherally. That kind of a report also you will get. Or sometimes the bilateral PCOD will be now changed into any one particular side alone. Either the PCOD is there only on the right side. That kind of improvement also is seen. But generally, I don't push the patient for PCOD unless the situation demands. I only observe from the history of the patient and understand whether it is an ovulatory cycle or anovulatory cycle. Now, how do you understand that from the history? If it is an ovulatory cycle, the patient will be having slight discomforts in the lower abdomen or in the low back at least during the first day or the second day of the cycle. If no discomforts are there, it generally shows that it is an anovulatory cycle. But after giving the correct remedy, generally you get all the typical menstrual symptoms, doctors.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, doctor.
Ma'am, in case of PCOS, if menses is appearing 3-4 months regularly, all of a sudden the menses is turning into menorrhagia or dysmenorrhea. What is the inference, ma'am, and how to manage it?
Yes. So suddenly if it is turning into a menorrhagia or dysmenorrhea, it means that your remedy is wrong, doctor, or you have to change the remedy. We never expect a dysmenorrhea to happen all of a sudden. Without a cause, the dysmenorrhea will not happen, or a menorrhagia to happen. So if a menorrhagia is happening, a very severe menorrhagia, we want to know what is the reason behind that. If the patient has been improving a lot and if she was menstruating properly every month and suddenly a menorrhagia happens, there would have been some emotional reasons or some pathology. If it is a pathology, of course, you have to rule out it with the help of an ultrasonogram. And if a pathology is there which was not existing in the previous scan, your medicine is wrong and you have to change the remedy. You have to retake the case and change the remedy. If menorrhagia is there with dysmenorrhea, again the same thing. You have to take a scan and find out whether there is any new pathology arised in the pelvic cavity. Another cyst or another fibroid or something is there, and you have to analyze it accordingly, whether your remedy was wrong or what it was, and then you have to change it or plan it accordingly, doctor.
Thank you, ma'am.
And there is a question. The doctor has a case of low AMH, 0.8 with infertility. LS, PSH all in normal range. If an analysis is also normal, is there any scope with homeopathy?
AMH is 0.8, doctor. That much I heard properly.
Yes, madam. With infertility, FSH, LH, PSH all in normal range.
Very good. So then, yes. So we have got enough scope, doctor. FSH is normal, LH is normal, everything is normal. So the AMH alone is on the lower side. That means it is 0.8. We have to work upon the AMH. That means the primary ovarian reserve. So actually we have to give a deep acting remedy. We have to find out, a lady is supposed to have at least 400 primordial follicles on birth. So why this AMH is on the lower side? That means the ovarian reserve is on the poor side. So this lady, if see, in a lady, the AMH is supposed to be between 2 and 5 or something, the normal value. So by the puberty, the AMH should increase, and the AMH is an indication of the the ovarian reserve. So here we have to work upon the ovarian reserve, doctor. How to work upon the ovarian reserve? We have to take the case history thoroughly. We have to ask questions about why you don't want to be a female. If she is a female, she has to undergo menstruation. And if she is a female, she has to develop the ovulation also. Or if she is coming up for infertility treatment, what is preventing you from being a mother? Why your eggs are not getting released just like other ladies? The egg should be released. Why your egg is getting suppressed? So here you can take some suppression rubric, doctor. You can work upon suppression inside the family. Somewhere her femininity would have been suppressed, or somewhere the identity of the person itself would be suppressed. So here deeper rubrics or strong rubrics should be taken, doctor. Something like identity, etc. Hello, doctor.